Hey everybody, it's Lifty, and today let's brew our Ethiopia Worka Carbonic Maceration process as a filter offering. This is another coffee from Worka. We've had Wash Worka, we have Worka in geometry at the moment. Maybe not by the time you watch this video, but we have a lot of Worka here. You've recognized it. It's almost the quintessential washed Ethiopian coffee. You're kind of used to it. But now we have an experimental processing. Carbonic maceration has been around for a few years now, mostly found in the wine industry. What carbonic maceration does in the cherry processing is really similar. As it ferments in closed containers, the bubbles form, the CO2, pop or macerates the cherries. What it does is it slows and controls that fermentation process. That's what all these fermentation methods are doing, just trying to control and usually slow, because a slower fermentation is not going to produce a ton of booziness, a ton of alcohol, and eat up all that sugar. Instead, we're gonna have a really complex acidity. And this carbonic maceration Worka is just that. The same Worka you know and love, processed completely differently. What we get is a really clean cup. This is a coffee that is really easy to extract, and even when you extract way too much, the thing is, all we have to do is dilute it, because all those extracted flavors are really, really good still. And so today's recipe is gonna be pretty fun. You've seen this before, the Tetsu Kasuya 4-6 V60 method. I'm gonna be using 20 grams of coffee and 300 grams of water. Now we got a twist to it. I'm gonna add my own twist to it, the way we do our V60s, which are really heavy pours in the middle. And so what this is gonna let us do is grind way more fine for this Tetsu method than you traditionally would. And so this is gonna give us a much more rich body and a much more full fruit flavor out of this coffee versus that really bright acidity that we get from the Tetsu method. And so we're gonna grind much more fine. We're gonna grind this at 22 clicks on your Comandante C40. We're gonna be sitting at 11 on your Baratza Encore. And if you've got the Ode and you've got this coffee, I would stick to that traditional 4-6 method and probably grind at about 1 2/3, maybe 2 1/3. So, all right, let's get going. First thing, let's wet our paper filter. So, like I said, this coffee is really easy to extract. And so if you brew this in any other recipe, you're gonna find that's gonna be really strong, even at your normal grind settings. But a lot of those flavors are really, really good. So let it do its thing. Stop that. Shake this flat. And tear our scale. Timer ready to go. And I'm ready to brew. Because it's so easy to extract, I don't need as hot a water as I usually do for a V60. I'm gonna be using 205 degrees Fahrenheit. And you don't need to place this back on your heating pad, just let it do its thing. I'm gonna start my timer. Let's bloom, really light, around 40 grams. There we go. One thing you'll notice about this coffee is when it's ground and when it's blooming, is it doesn't actually smell that fantastic. We get some fruity notes, but then we get kind of this cracker, we get kind of this cereal note. I'll go through that in just a moment. Here at 30 seconds, boom, punch it heavy in the middle, tight circles like we usually do, up to 120. There we go. It's not especially off-putting, but it doesn't make you feel like, oh, this is such a special coffee right when you grind it, which is unusual for a coffee that is actually really, really good. Here at 1 minute, we'll punch it again, up to 180, heavy in the middle. And actually, another thing about this coffee, so here, I'm gonna start heavy in the middle. I'm gonna pour up to 180, but I'm gonna spiral around similar to what I would with the traditional 4-6 method. Reason being, even as this coffee rests, it's gonna hold on to a lot of CO2. I don't necessarily know if that's common for carbonic maceration coffees. This is probably my 3rd or 4th carbonic maceration coffee, but it acts really fresh even when it ages. So on your second pulse, go ahead and give a rinse around, push this crust back underneath the water. Here we go. Here at 140, I'm gonna hit it again up to 240. Boom. Minute 40. Now I'm just sticking to the middle. That crust is gone. There we go. I saturated everything. And then we'll do it again at about 215, 220. Punch it again, heavy in the middle. Bring it up. Finish ourselves off at 300 grams total. So visually, it's going to look a little differently as you brew it because it acts really, really fresh. That could also be contributing to some of that off aroma. However, that aroma only lingers in the dry and the brewing process. Once this is brewed, it is fantastic. Especially good as it cools. So, a thing to note about this coffee, if it drains too fast, it might actually still be pretty good. You're gonna have this bright peach, we're gonna have some floral chamomile, but if it's too tart, there's not much texture to it, then we want to grind more fine. The other side of things, if we grind way too fine, and this coffee drains forever, even like a traditional Ethiopian coffee, like 3.5, 4 minutes, it's gonna be really, really strong. And we are going to muddy our flavors, and it's gonna be kind of drying like black tea. And not very bright fruit, not very sweet. And then here we go, the traditional Hario V60 Tetsu 4-6 method. Drains around 3.5 minutes, and we're actually gonna be a little bit faster than that, partially because we did our pours straight in the middle, even though we ground really, really fine. And you'll get similar results replicating this for a lot of different coffees. All right, when we are balanced though, we get really bright peach, we get floral chamomile, almost rose, and then you're gonna get lemon as well. So stone fruit, citrus, floral qualities. This is a really nice coffee, and like I said, it's really, really strong. I'm actually going to dilute this whole thing with 1/2 ounce of water, or about 15 grams or milliliters. So just pour some water straight into your decanter, or you can pour it straight into your mug. A little bit more. There we go. Be sure to mix that well before you serve it. This is really sweet, bright. When it is hot, you're predominantly gonna get that, that ripe peach and that lemon. As it cools, that florality really opens up. We get super floral flavor. It's bright, it's sweet, really nice texture. Serve and enjoy.